Okay, welcome. This lecture is going to talk about social work ethics and technology. I would like you to get out for your readings this week. You need to look at NASW and ASWB standards for technology and social work practice and kind of have that available and having read that before you get into the lecture, and then certainly have that available. So we're going to start off with kind of thinking about ethical considerations as it goes to technology. So we know that electronic tools in social work have kind of grown, and we need to kind of keep pace with these developments. So what I'd like us to do is to first start thinking about, I guess first we'll go through the standards of social work practice and ethical standards, and then we'll go look at the NASW and ASWB kind of standards. So this actually is from Lewis, that kind of concerned about how social workers will navigate new technologies without compromising our ethical standards. And so this is kind of something that, you know, I think continues to evolve as more technologies kind of evolve. So let's get started with some of the going through. Let me start with Maryland. I'm a licensed social worker in Maryland, so because of that, I have the Code of Ethics kind of as through the Maryland Board of Social Work Examiners. So here is some ethical pieces that I've pulled out of the ethics this way, the Code of Ethics, that discuss technology. So that's kind of one Code of Ethics we're going to talk about today. The other code is from NASW, the National Association of Social Workers, has a Code of Ethics that guides the practice. But again, that's not what I'm liable to because I'm licensed in the state of Maryland, and so it's the Maryland Board of Social Work Examiners that kind of has a Code of Ethics that I kind of have to abide by. So we'll kind of think about some of the things that have noted technology in these two codes of ethics. So let's think about responsibilities to clients, listed under the Code of Ethics, and ensures that no confidential information is going to be kind of passed out, and the identities are going to be protected when using the computer and internet technologies. Again, you can see how really broad this is. So the idea of this is we're not really sure kind of what those tools would look like. You know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was when I was in my field placements, the way we referred clients was through fax machine. Well, now you could potentially refer clients through sending documents through email, or sending them through maybe they have a site on their website to actually kind of send information and attach documents and referrals and whatnot. So kind of this is how they're trying to keep it very general, to kind of note that. Another place in the Code of Ethics that it kind of notes responsibilities to clients, that I can't kind of solicit information either in person or via phone or through social media. And that's kind of a very general term, but a way that you can think about through technology. The next code where technology is kind of mentioned is that I cannot, as a practicing licensed social worker, enter into a dual relationship with a client or an individual whom my client is close to. Say my client's brother, and be dating that person. So, you know, we talk about close relationship, but when you think about relationships that you have that are close, are they all kind of personal and in person? Or do you have some personal relationships that you have either developed or maintained kind of in the online world, maybe through Facebook, maybe a friend of yours, you have something in common with, you're both social workers, you both work in child welfare, and so you've connected with this person even though you don't know who they are, you've connected with them maybe through your friend through Facebook. So what does that mean if that happens to be a client or a client's relative? So again, kind of thinking about how we could apply this to the technology piece. So those are a few pieces that are kind of pulled from the Maryland Board of Social Work Examiners. Now we're going to look at kind of the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics. And social workers who provide services through electronic media, and they kind of specify those as computer, telephone, radio, television, need to inform the client of the limitations and the risks kind of associated with that. And this idea of kind of informed consent. So that's something to kind of think about. And we as social workers need to be thinking about that too in terms of our practicing confidently and within our jurisdictions. Are we providing services kind of beyond our jurisdiction? So I, again, licensed in Maryland, I'm able to serve individuals living and kind of residing in Maryland. What does that look like if I'm providing services to a client who is in California and I'm doing that kind of through the internet? So that's something for us to kind of be thinking about. Some social workers need to take precautions to ensure we are maintaining our confidentiality and maintaining appropriate records that way. And this is kind of something we saw in the in the Maryland Code of Ethics too. So kind of how we're protecting information that has our clients' confidential information, not even just name, address, social security, and that information, but also perhaps diagnosis and treatment and things like that. We need to conduct, should keep our kind of private life, this is kind of private conduct, so we need to keep our kind of private life private and kind of separated from our professional life. And I think, perhaps before technology, we could argue that that was maybe a little bit more easy to do. If I look back on kind of being in college, we took lots of photos, we had lots of photo albums, but those were all photo albums that were only shared with individuals within kind of my group of friends or people that I lived with. What does that look like now? I mean, nowadays people post pictures and post stories in these situations kind of in Facebook and online, and so the world can kind of see that. And so how is it that you might need to think about this in relation to technology and how you're going to kind of keep your personal life and your professional life separate? Does that mean that you don't actually let your coworkers onto your Facebook account? Does that mean that you don't put your personal, pictures up on Facebook because then your coworkers can see that? How do you kind of keep those two worlds a little bit separated that way? And social workers should not kind of engage in solicitation from current clients or from others, and certainly those that are vulnerable and could see us in kind of a position of authority that way. And this is something that I kind of started thinking about, how could we actually push different topics or issues that maybe we wouldn't be able to do, wouldn't do face to face, but online, there's now so many products that ask you to join their Facebook accounts and ask you to like them so that you can almost sell them. And even like my 7-year-old kid knows that if an item has 5 stars, it must be really good and people must like it and you should have it too. When he's looking to get a new app or get a new something on Amazon. So it's like we're already trained, like he's 7, he's already well trained to do that. So our clients who could be kind of vulnerable and not knowing a lot of information may be influenced to make certain decisions or do certain things based on something that I like or something that I kind of note on Facebook as something that I think that they should do or something that they should like. And that's something that can be powerful in terms of how you can kind of move something that way or make a movement of something. So be cautious of how we're maybe using technology to solicit things. So the next part is, and I'm wanting you to think about, so basically what happened is NESW and the Association of Social Work Boards, ASWB, kind of got together and said, okay, there's more and more technology out there. We have code of ethics, but maybe we should come up with like a code of ethics in terms of social work practice. And so if you kind of, which you are required to read, the ASWB and NESW kind of thing, but they kind of talk about how they want these standards to apply to the use of technology, and as well as practice, and kind of this bigger picture. They know that technology is existing and there's going to be these ethical issues, and so they wanted to kind of start these standards of practice. And that's how this kind of document evolved. And it was published in 2005. This is a good quote from them, many technologies are powerful but fragile. Crucial information can be lost or intercepted. Not all websites providing information are reliable, which we've already talked about. Service providers can easily misrepresent themselves and their credentials online, which can be very dangerous. Confidentiality can quickly evaporate. Jurisdiction, liability, malpractice can blur between state lines. If I'm, again, providing a social worker providing services for clients out in California, this idea of digital divides. I am working in an agency, a university, that provides me with a desktop computer. So I have a computer in my office. Now, do all agencies are doing that? We are hopeful. Do all clients have access to, a computer? Well, if my client is a homeless individual, they probably do not able to go home and kind of look something up on their computer that I might give them as a resource. So that's something to be thinking about, right? That even if our clients do have a home, we know how expensive kind of the internet and cable is, and is that something they even have access to? And so what does that look like? And certainly clients and social workers have to have, they may have unrealistic expectations for what actually technology can provide. So if you review kind of the standards for practice, they highlight, and I'm going to highlight just a couple of those, that we need to act ethically. We need to be practicing competently. We need to only be practicing within our field. We need to protect our clients and uphold the values of the profession. So that's kind of a general thing. We need to access technology and use it. We need to know how to use it. And we need to ensure that our clients can access it. So perhaps the homeless shelter that I work at, I actually help get some money and funding so that we can have a computer center so that our clients can come in and, most jobs are all online now. You need to submit material online. So maybe it's having a computer center at the homeless shelter that clients can actually go in and do their resume and apply online for materials or jobs or whatnot. So again, allowing clients to access that material. That we want to be working, continue to maintain kind of that cultural competence and develop skills to work with our vulnerable clients, and being respectful that not all of our clients are going to know the programs or know the technology or know, if you think about kind of this idea that any client that comes into our office, we may assume that they can read, and our clients may be able to read, but they may not be able to, and I put kind of air quotes, read technology that way. They may have never used a computer before, so kind of being aware and being kind of cognizant of that and considering that when working with our clients. We need to become proficient with our technological skills and support clients with that too. We need to recognize kind of the regulation kind of in jurisdiction here. Again, I'm providing the service. I'm a licensed professional in Maryland. I need to know what those regulations are in terms of providing services. I need to know what my code of ethics are and what I'm liable to. And if I am providing services kind of out of state, what does that state require? And what does that look like? And letting the client know kind of where I'm licensed and what I'm able to do and what are the limits of my practice that way. Certainly identification and verification, so we need to represent ourselves accurately. Anybody can post a website and they can make it look really good. So I need to if I'm posting information about me and my agency, that information is accurate. I'm being truthful. I am noting that I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and that is really the truth. I'm not kind of making that up. And unfortunately, I think that's where some things can be scary for some clients that aren't well versed in kind of finding a social worker, how they're kind of finding someone who maybe isn't as skilled or qualified and perhaps isn't representing themselves well through the internet. We still do need to think about kind of privacy, confidentiality, and documentation and security, and the risks of that. So many of us are using kind of wireless technology, either through our phone or other devices, tablets or iPads, and so how is that information being passed along, and what does that look like? And I think you guys need to be aware when you get out to your agencies, what are the tools that the agency provides? we used to enter notes in our kind of computers, and it was a very DOS-based kind of no windows is where we entered the notes, but that was kind of a way to keep it secure within just the agency. So you should be aware, if you're doing electronic notes at your agencies, what does that look like? What are you kind of required to do? How secure is the server and the material? Where does that go? Certainly if you have a laptop and then you pack that up and bring that home, I hope that's not on there because you're basically bringing all your client records home. And when you're accessing things kind of wirelessly on your phone, is it through Wi-Fi? Is it through kind of more of a secure network, a secure Wi-Fi? Maybe you're accessing your email and you have an email from a client. What does that look like? And so kind of really being aware of all the risks that we have that way. And really, we're doing that because we want to provide the best service and the highest quality to our clients. And that's something that we need to be kind of thinking about when we're out there. And you're probably going to have to think about more things than I ever did as technology continues to evolve. And, we didn't really have to worry about, when I was in the field, cell phones were just emerging. And we definitely didn't have cell phones that had kind of email on them and all the, I don't know what we're calling them nowadays, but kind of the high-tech cell phones that have, access to web pages and access to email. So we didn't have that, so I wouldn't know until I got back to the office if I got an email. And most of my clients weren't emailing me, they were calling or coming in face-to-face. So some of the things to kind of be thinking about. Practice competencies. Then it goes into kind of some of the practice competencies when we think about these different avenues. And if you think about some of the roles that we'll be playing as advocates, as community organizers, as administrators, thinking about how technology plays a role in that. We certainly see technology as really being an excellent way to advocate on behalf of something, more so now than ever before. I mean, when you think about what a petition was 15 years ago, you had to go door to door in order to get people to sign a petition. Well, I don't know how many of you guys get these petitions through your email now, but you can sign a petition on a website or through an email. So there's so much more that you can kind of do to activate a group, so to speak. And Facebook has been infamous for kind of doing that, kind of getting a cause and getting thousands of people from around the world behind that cause. And so we see the benefits of technology, is I guess what I want to point out. Certainly in terms of the community practice, that we are kind of noting how can we improve, adopt technology and improve the community service. Maybe you live in a very rural area that doesn't have a social worker within, 100 miles. So maybe you develop a satellite site that you can actually kind of create, and clients can go to that site, and you could be 100 miles away and be providing, be a facilitator for a group that's running there. Or be an administrator in terms of the services that they're providing. Or maybe you're providing supervision to a social worker that's on staff there that isn't kind of at the clinical level. So there's a lot that we can think about doing in terms of the advancement of technology. Certainly, administratively, we need to be aware of kind of all the technology and certainly maintaining and being knowledgeable about all of our systems. In terms of direct practice, the clinical work, ways technology can be kind of conducted and maintained, and some of the drawbacks and advantages from face-to-face to online. I had a couple students that have really noted that, some clients may actually feel like more comfortable kind of in online work rather than, maybe because of anxiety, rather than being in a face-to-face kind of group. And so that's kind of something to think about. Think about some of the advantages, but also some of the disadvantages. We know as a profession, so much of our work happens kind of face-to-face because that's how you pick up on body language. That's how you pick up on the different cues that maybe you wouldn't see or hear verbally. Sorry. Technological, where did you go? Okay, sorry about that. Okay. I'm almost there. Okay, so research, we know research has been tremendously helpful in terms of being able to obtain research articles. I won't tell you that I used to have to walk uphill both ways to the library through the snow And that was the only way I could get a journal article. But part of that is true. We used to photocopy them at the library. Now you guys have access to a ton of electronic resources in terms of articles and whatnot. You can actually gather those, distribute those, and apply that research, and just thinking about doing that in kind of like an ethical way. And supervision, same thing is what we're kind of talking about in direct practice, how much that's kind of opened up and what you can do, but applying those same standards as you would in the face-to-face world. So that's kind of a little bit about kind of the ethics and technology. I want you guys to be aware of, again, how many different codes of ethics we have. So we have the Code of Ethics through NASW, National Association of Social Workers. Each state has its own Code of Ethics, which if you're licensed in that state, you're kind of abided to follow that. And then again, this kind of newer NASW, ASWB Code of Ethics. Now, a future assignment you're going to be working on is really going to be focused on this idea of ethics and technology. So I want you to really process this lecture, process the readings, and be thinking about that, because your PowerPoint presentations are going to really be looking at ethics and technology. And we'll talk in more detail about that assignment, but that's something you really reflect on in these readings and lectures to kind of apply that. Thank you so much and have a good day.